Afternoon and a very big welcome to everyone here. Thank you all for joining us for today's online mini symposium. My name is Jai and I will be your MC for today's webinar. Before we begin, allow me to give a few reminders to ensure we have a smooth webinar. First, please mute your microphone during the webinar. Second, please write any questions that you may have in the chat box. The speakers will try to answer the questions during the Q&A session. Finally, there will be a group photo session and a link to give your feedback at the end of the webinar. With that said, once again, I would like to welcome everyone to our webinar titled Sustainability in Public Relations, Trends, Development, and Challenges Across Southeast Asia. I hope that everyone will be able to learn a lot from the webinar. I will now pass the floor over to the moderator, Mr. Edmund.
All right, thank you for our MC. I'd like to welcome everyone once again to our mini symposium. We continue to have people joining us. Our mini symposium titled Sustainability in Public Relations, Trends, Development, Challenges in the Southeast Asian Region, organized by SEAMSA and TAR UMT. So my name is Edmund and I'll be the moderator for today's session. It's really great to see everyone online here today. We are honored to have three distinguished speakers with us. Allow me to have some time to briefly introduce our first speaker and his presentation title. Our first speaker is Dr. Craig Selby. Dr. Craig is the Director of Orchan Consulting Asia Sdn Bhd, a PR agency and the Academic Director of the Third Degree, a research and higher education consultancy. Dr. Craig is an industry professional and an academic. He specializes in B2B strategy, along with crisis communications and reputation management. He's currently under contract with Penguin Random House to publish Think Crisis, a Southeast Asian perspective on crisis and reputation management in early 2024. He has serviced a range of clientele from local startups through to global clients during his career. Dr. Craig is currently an adjunct professor at Taylor's University, as well as holding contributing roles in other universities regionally. His presentation title today will be Keeping PR on Its Toes. So it is now we welcome Dr. Craig to begin his presentation.
Great, thank you. Just give me a moment. Okay. So I actually changed, very tiny, but I changed the title of my presentation to A Change of Heart. And I hope as I talk through things and share my ideas and my experiences, that will come into better understanding as to why I made a slight change. First of all, I would like to say thank you to the organizers, to my fellow presenters, and also to participants for being here. I'm here to share some thoughts and observations, more so at a functional level, but I also think that I'm going to be asking you more questions than I perhaps am giving you answers or providing answers to those questions as well. I wanted this to be a little bit related to my personal journey through PR as well as education. So I hope that that will sort of come through as we progress. Myself, I wear three hats and they're kind of overlapping but also different. I'm an academic. I contribute to multiple universities. And I teach and I write about crisis communication, social media policy, and so forth. I'm also an agency co-owner, something I've done for the last just on 15 years here in Malaysia, but as a regional agency. And I'm also an entrepreneur. And that's where all of my worlds come crashing together in a way that I had never expected. My change of heart is twofold. One, because I had originally intended to talk about something slightly different with today's presentation. But the second, I started thinking about what happened to me a few years ago with my company, The Third Degree. And it was at the time that ESG reporting and issues of environmental awareness were popping up. And one of our associates said to me, Craig, you need to have a statement of commitment on climate change. And I thought, what does this dude who's talking to PhD students and helping people do research have to do with climate change? And I started doing my research. I had a look around, and that's where my change of heart became, because I suddenly realized that my little online business helping graduate students across the globe actually needed that commitment to climate change and to understanding that, as much as I never thought there was a relationship between environment and what I do, there was a huge relationship between my actions, how we undertake the work that we do, and the environment that was there. And as a result, I actually wrote a statement of commitment to climate change for the first time in my life. This is a very simple version of it. I won't sort of get you to go through it. In order to start, what I wanted to talk about is what we view as sustainability in PR. And this is where I sort of started, or had the idea that I wanted to talk about something else today, and then sort of moved back. And it's really about what we view. And I talk about the difference between sustainability of PR and sustainability through PR. And sustainability of PR is, does our industry really have a future, and how do we ensure that we are part of the game? And ultimately, this is a question for us as PR people, whether we're students and we're trying to shape what the future is, or whether you're somebody long in the neck like me, seasoned in the industry, and is saying, well, actually, how are we going to keep public relations relevant in a very fast-paced, changing world? And the other half of this, which is where today's direction is obviously going to go a lot more, is, are we letting PR be a driver of what I consider to be appropriate audience-aligned understanding of the importance of sustainability adjacent issues? And that's, how does PR lead the pack, or how can PR lead the pack in respect of this as we move forward? Now, my original title for today was Keeping PR on Its Toes. And I wanted to talk about 5, I call them powerful pivots, but just 5 things, 5 trends that we really have to get a grip on. And as I went through this, I realized there's still a lot in relation to the issue of sustainability in its broader sense, as well as what our role in, propelling an understanding of sustainability is. So the 5 powerful pivots I looked at were new metrics for clients. It's an age-old concern for us as to how do we value the work that we do, and how do we place a value on the exposure and the mind shaping, I guess, if you want to call it, the mind shaping that we do for our clients. Now, this too has a relationship to sustainability. The Karen phenomena and cancel culture, again, it has a relationship, because it's not only about people or brands being canceled, but it's actually about what we do to counter the potential that might happen with that. And it has everything to do with our attitude as a brand, as well as what we do as PR people, in ensuring that the brand and our client is represented in a way that is going to resonate with the audiences we've got. One of the bigger trends that we've faced, especially since the pandemic started, was the decline in print and the rise in digital. And the decline in print is obviously going to have very positive environmental impacts for us, but it's also a change in the way in which we all understand and work within the realm of PR. The impact of AI, something that we're all coming to grips with at the moment. And the final one, which is today, ESG and sustainability. So I want to really hone in on that last part and just sort of give some of the thoughts and perspectives that I have on that. And that comes through expectations. Now, I ask, are we experiencing a sea change? And this is actually reference to my company and my business partner who hosts a regular session called Sea Change, looking at what are the changes that are happening in the world around us that impact upon us as an industry and what we have to do to it. But that aside, we are experiencing a significant shift. And I do believe it is significant because although some countries in the world have been looking at this for years, I might argue that we might be a little bit behind the 8 ball on this one. Now, our interpretation of sustainability, so the meanings that we each bring to it, you may not have the same perspective on the term and its meaning that I do. But it also comes down to what is the concept, what is the relevance, and how does that apply? So I have here environment, not brand, because for many in my generation, my first exposure to the concept of sustainability had nothing to do with business. And in fact, it was so at arm's length from myself as a person, I didn't get it. But it was very much about the environment at the time. It's now about bridging that gap, which is changing. It is about us as individuals, us as brands, us as community, understanding that sustainability will continue to play an increasingly important role in our lives, which means us as practitioners need to find ways to embrace that. Now, that's also our awareness of sustainability. And I term this one education versus embeddedness, because when I first came across the concept, it was very much education. You're told sustainability is important. You have to do this. You have to do that. And it was very much a one-way communication flow. Now it's embedded with almost everybody's life. And, I wanted to say it's embedded with everybody's lives, but there will still be a few resistant people out there. But the reality is, what 10 years ago we may not have given a lot of thought about as a consumer, we are increasingly conscious about, not only as to what it means for us, what it means for the brands that we're engaging with, but how we go about doing things as well. And I call that growing, because it is us as a community, us as a society, growing in our appreciation of, our understanding of, and our willingness to embrace and embed the idea of sustainability, the concept of sustainability, into what we're doing. And I wanted to think back to a session I gave a few years ago, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, just at the start of the pandemic. And it relates to the Zeno Strength of Purpose Report 2020. And this is about our action. And it was really about consumers and their engagement levels with brands, which has obviously a very strong PR relationship. And Malaysia actually came top. I think there were 9 societies, 9 countries that were surveyed and investigated in relationship to a number of key factors and metrics. And Malaysia had a very strong score of 96%, which related to the fact that 96% of Malaysian consumers surveyed for this would take action on purchasing related to the values exhibited by a brand. Now, the problem with Strength of Purposes wasn't about positive and negative, because it actually focused on both. But here we had, out of the 9 countries, Malaysia being the highest, including in comparison with Singapore, with China, I think one other Southeast Asian nation as well, if I'm not mistaken. But we had the highest willingness to actually change behavior consumption behavior, consumer patterns, the highest willingness to change behavior based on what a brand stands for and how a brand perpetuates through action what it does. Now, the Strength of Purpose report also revealed a few simple things. When consumers think a brand has a strong purpose, they're 4 times more likely to purchase from the company. Fantastic. 6 times more likely to protect the company in the event of a misstep or public criticism. Really useful for me as a crisis management guy, because we need that digital fortress. We need that out there to help us, because we know that a crisis can always be around the corner, whether it's initiated internally or externally for us. They are 4.5 times more likely to champion the company and recommend it. And they're 4.1 times more likely to trust the company. Now, my question from this is, why would a brand not use PR to propel their purpose and to propel their commitment? Because at the end of the day, if you are able to show your commitment to the world, and I use that very, very loosely, but if you're able to show your commitment to future generations as well, through sustainability, through environmental action, through a contribution in any way to making the world a better place, of course, you want to take advantage of what that means in terms of the 4 times, the 6 times, the 4.5, the 4.1 times. The role of public relations in changing the world, and I'll keep this one very simple. It's really now we are seeing the brand or brands as positive global citizens. And it's not just about us as brands or us as PR people telling others, telling our stakeholders, but it's also about building enhanced collaborative pathways between brands and consumers as well. A piece of research I have had a little bit of involvement with through one of the PhD candidates that works with me is looking at the reportage or reporting of sustainability issues and the changes that are here. And I want to sort of start off with a few points, but I also want to ask a question: who is PR driving change for? And this might be the only time today I give an answer. And for a period of time, reporting on sustainability issues has been made compulsory in different elements of the business community. But it ended up by being what I call meeting a requirement, ticking a box or jumping through hoops for regulators. And it was only about informing, and I want to say minimal informing, about what the brand was doing. And that might mean 1 or 2 statements. And, the research that my colleague and PhD candidate Jap has been doing has been looking at really what type of reportage and does it make a difference. And I think that's important. When we look at compulsory reporting, it's being seen in one space only, and that's a very narrow space at that. And it's really a regulatory commercial interest versus the broader stakeholder interest. The idea is we get it out there, but at the end of the day, the only people reading annual reports are not your customers. It's simply your stakeholders and a few others who are interested. So my point, my argument now, PR is changing the reportage from what's a formal or required function to a wider community or interested component, which is about getting more people not on board with you, but sharing with more people about what it is. PR is also helping to shift society towards an increasingly important set of narratives. that were actually traditionally in the realm of regulators and often ignored by the average citizen. So PR has its role in, and I don't want to use the word educating, but PR has the role in sharing that narrative so that we are all better, more well-informed about issues that maybe 10 years ago we wouldn't have thought of. And here comes my questions. And it's really two questions, for us in the PR industry. Again, doesn't matter what level you're at or what position you're at here, but it is questions for us to consider. And is it PR's role to accelerate the community trend and the strength of purpose? Is it PR's role to demonstrate the different approaches to sustainability and the contributions that unique players are making in relation to global efforts? So, at a very simple level, should I be shouting about my commitment to climate change for the third degree as part of my brand identity and part of the communication efforts that I want to get out there? And ultimately, is it PR's responsibility to make that happen? Is it PR's role to educate society on the changes that we collectively as society need to make in order to become more responsible global citizens? What's often been seen as government driven, is it now up for our industry to say, you know what, we can be the champion here, we can be the lead here. And if we're going to make a positive change for the next generation, are we the ones who should be making this change? And finally, the question which I want you to think about, because it's a broader question, but driven by increasing interest in sustainability, amongst other things, is it PR's role to change the dynamic of PR itself? So really what we're about as a collective, as an industry, is it our responsibility to actually be thinking about some things aren't needed and a lot of things are? Now, just a little bit more as a Malaysian perspective, and this actually came out 2 days ago, so I was really happy to see this one. And my question is, look, is Malaysia ready? And the heading, and this came from, what publication? HR Online, if I'm not mistaken. So it does have a bit of a skew different to where we are today, but I think it's very valuable to have an understanding of how people are thinking about the issue already. And the heading is SMEs in Malaysia may be unconsciously adopting ESG practices, which I thought was really quite interesting. 41%, I just give a piece of data out of here, 41% know that ESG and sustainability has relationships to stakeholder awareness. Now, to me, that's really promising, because that's 41%. If we kind of loosely extrapolate that, that's 41% that say, look, we know it's there, we know it's happening. We're actually waiting for our industry to share more about it. The key challenge which the particular article represented, and I think, it's how I also feel about it, is there is a lack of visionary directives or a framework. And I see that as a really strong opportunity for us in the PR industry, because when the framework is not there, when the vision is loose and uncoordinated, we need to be the champions to be able to really make our mark and say, look, this is why it is so important for us. Now, I want to change tack for a minute, and I want to go to something that's sort of been a hobby horse of mine for a while, and the concept of corporate social responsibility is not public relations. And I wanted to link that into issues of sustainability and really what our role is. Now, Sangeeta is a friend of both my business partner and I. She's written this wonderful book about 2 years ago, massive sales now, just been launched in different markets. But she looks at the sincerity associated with what we do as PR practitioners when we look at corporate social responsibility issues. And I think there's a lesson to be learned from that for us with sustainability as well. Because at the end of the day, we're either trying to be very genuine with what we communicate and the way in which we structure that and frame that, or we're simply just trying to get the message out there. Now, coming back to strength of purpose, our stakeholders, our consumers, our customers, they're not stupid. They can tell the difference between us being genuine and us being authentic, and us setting something up because, as with previously, we're ticking a box. And just to quote Sangeeta, the biggest reason some CSR initiatives fall short is they don't seem sincere or genuine to employees and to customers. This happens when the pursuit of marketing objectives is the main driver. Now we can take out CSR and we can put sustainability in its place. Thank you for that. So we can take out CSR and put in sustainability as a term and actually have exactly the same meanings. Now, this one is very, very simple. This is nothing new, so I'm not going to spend much time on here. But what it looks at is an increasingly sophisticated approach to how we as PR people engage with those around us. And those around us are not only the media and the end users of the media, but it's also clientele as well. And with it being nothing new, I just want to add one comment here, and it's really about our responsibility as an industry, as agency owners, as agency managers, as supervisors, as in-house team leaders. Again, doesn't matter your responsibility within the food chain, but it's our responsibility to empower practitioners to have a much stronger grasp on both the issues that are at hand and creative ways to engage with our communities. And I'm going to finish off with some observations that I think are quite interesting in respect of this. And it's really lessons in activating sustainability PR for us as PR people. And the first one is, look, unlearn PR and embrace the specific. And I call it greenwashing is akin to fake news. So really look at the language that we are using and get rid of phrases like industry leading, best in class, visionary. And if I have those on my website, please tell me to get rid of them, because they're words that aren't working for us anymore. But they're also making a lot of fake claims that our stakeholders can see through like a very shiny window. The second one is to learn to say, I'm sorry, we made a mistake. Now, this is not crisis management in the viewpoint that I have it, but it is about being consistently honest with your stakeholders. And it comes down to things like, we have ambition, we have goals, we are trying to make a significant change. But it's also okay to say, unfortunately, we didn't reach our goals this year. We made steps towards it, but we didn't reach them. And that's perfectly fine. The third one is real versus aspirational. And this is when we're talking about where we want to go with a brand, what we want to be able to achieve. We have to be very clear about what the goal is, what's aspirational about it, and actually what's the hard goal that's there that as a brand and as a brand representative, you are willing to be held accountable for. And the final one before I wrap up, the final one before I wrap up is all of it matters. And transparent communications represent an opportunity more so than any risk. And I think with respect to this, what we have to look at is the fact that everything we are doing to align our brands, ourselves, closer to where our stakeholders and community in general, because, you know, I really want to focus on that, but how we align ourselves with our community in general, that it relates to them in a way that doesn't require them to think hard, doesn't require them to extrapolate ideas or draw conclusions, that it's just instantly there. So I'm going to wrap up with that. Thank you very much. As I said, you know, I wanted to share some ideas. I wanted to ask you more questions than I wanted to answer. And I hope I haven't stepped on any of my two colleagues' toes for their presentations. So thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Craig, for all the ideas and yes, for some of the important questions for our industry. So I would like to invite our second speaker. Our second speaker is Mr. William Ndut. Mr. William has over about 10 years of professional work experience in various sectors such as agriculture, nonprofit, education, and finance. He's the author of various books, writing more than 40 articles, a number of topics, ranging from communication, cultural intelligence to education. Mr. Williams' presentation title today is Communicating Sustainability in the Financial Sector. Mr. William himself is actually currently the PR and corporate communication lead at Stockbit and Bibit.id. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Mr. William to proceed with his presentation.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Edmund, for the kind introduction. Thank you so much, Dr. Craig, other speakers, and also the audience. Good afternoon, and I hope that you are in a good situation, in a good condition. And for those who celebrate Idul Fitri before, I would like to once again send you a season greeting. Hopefully this holiday season bring you more refreshment and also new inspiration to work and to publish a good publication. Okay. So today I'm here and feeling so honored to be presenting my presentation. And today I'm also wearing more than one hat. So the first hat is my corporate hat, in which I work as a public relations and also corporate communication lead at Stockbit and Bibit.id. So it's an Indonesian leading investment app, the digital investment app that help millions of users invest in the capital market. And the second hat that I'm wearing is the academic one. I'm also a lecturer at the University of Indonesia in the vocational study, and on daily basis, I teach my students about development of fintech industry and also customer service. Well, I have prepared a bit of presentation, and let me share it with all of you.
Sure.
Yep. Yes, so the title of my presentation today is a very simple one. It's Communicating Sustainability in Financial Sector, Challenge and Opportunities in PR. So I'm using the current company that I work with, Stockbit and Bibit, as the study case so that I can share with you a bit of the knowledge, the experience, and the insight that I learned along the way in my role as a PR and corporate communication. So the company itself, we start the company with a vision, and we believe that everyone has the same opportunity to invest in the right way for a better future. And we do that not using the conventional way of investment in which banks and other financial institutions have served society for a long time, but we become a so-called disruption in the market. So we come with a very simple concept using the investment app that people can easily download, and they can start investing small with a minimum amount of money, and we make it very inclusive for everyone. We make the business process paperless, and the bottom line is very easy to especially young investors in Indonesia. So our mission is we want to help first-time investor start investing in the capital market easily, and we want to become a safe and convenient app developed based on technology and creativity. Well, what does it get something to do with sustainability, with ESG and other concepts that is quite emerging lately? It's because we identify, at least in the PR department at Bibit and Stockbit, that the communication activities and also the business operation, we divided into two. The first one is towards the internal stakeholders, and the second one is toward external stakeholders. And as a context, I would like to inform you that our company consists of nearly 1,000 employees working in roles ranging from communication, marketing, IT, software engineer, KYC, and also product manager, and other roles that is also labor intensive, but also capital intensive in the business process. And we want to emphasize that the business operation and the company, in essence, is a paperless company, is a company run and mediated by technology. So per se, we could say that the concept of sustainability is something that's very close to our business operation, with or without us mentioning it to our internal stakeholders and also to the public in general. So with the digital technology, with the paperless business operation, we are able to reach more than 500 cities in Indonesia, and we make it easy, we make it seamless for people, especially the young investors and also the first-time investors, to have access to multiple asset classes in the capital market, be it mutual funds, stocks, and government bonds or government securities, so that everyone now can start investing small. They will get the same treatment, get the same service, despite the number of the investment. Maybe people in Malaysia, in Singapore, or even in Indonesia, you know and you realize that when you deal with banks or with the wealth management company, it's usually kind of the exclusive world or environment, in a way that not everyone is accepted there. People should have a minimum amount of investment, minimum amount of money, so that they could be served by those big banks or financial institutions. Otherwise, at our company, we make it easy and inclusive for everyone, so that now in Indonesia, the number of investors in the capital market starts growing exponentially from year to year, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. And if we refer our business operation activities towards the sustainable development goals, we could say that from internal perspective, we make it very equal. We make it very inclusive for our employees, for everyone, despite their socio-economic and education background, to work and to contribute to the company. And we don't have any issue about gender, so that gender equality is well implemented at our company. We have around 50% of women leadership in the company. And it's not gender-based, it's merit-based. So both men, women, and anyone who identify themselves as any gender that they believe in, it's okay. And it has no issues at all at our company. And also, if we look at another aspect of the sustainable development goals that we try to implement in the company, I think the good jobs and economic growth, it's something that we really aspire to do, not only for our internal stakeholders, not only for our employees, but also to people in general, to the investors in the capital market. So as a context, when I mentioned about the big banks and financial institutions before, let's say that people should have minimum $10,000 so that they can get the service from the big banks. They can buy many instruments, investment instruments in the capital market. But now, with the technology and innovation that we bring to the market, with less than $10, everyone can start investing, and they can check the investment portfolio by their fingertips. So everything can be done on the smartphone. It's 100% paperless. The KYC process is done online, thanks to the regulator in Indonesia. And we have been able to reach to more than 500 series out of around 514 cities in Indonesia. So it's almost 100%, thanks to technology and to the digitalization through our business. And we also open the same opportunity for, again, to our employees to work and to contribute so that they could reach a better financial future for them, and also take part in the economic growth of the country. But in the greater agenda, we also realize that sustainability is not only about the environment, but it's also about social and economics, in a way that if we look at the number of productive age population in Indonesia, it has reached around 180, 190 million in 2023. But the fact that the total number of investors in the capital market has just reached around 11 million. So that means it's only around 6% of the productive age population who have been exposed and get a chance, opportunities to invest in the capital market. So it's still a long way to go. And if we compare with our neighbor countries such as Malaysia and Singapore, and also Thailand, the proportion of investors in the capital market compared to the total of productive age population, it has reached more than 20%. So Indonesia, I think during the pandemic, we got the acceleration because most people stay at home and they learn about investment through the internet. It's on the right track, but still far behind our neighboring countries. And to communicate about sustainability, we also need to communicate about access, communicate about the opportunity for people to invest and to participate in the economic growth of the country. Because statistics has indicated that if the greater number of participation in the capital market of a country, it will indicate and the greater the number of wealth distribution will be. So that means if Indonesia has only reached 6% of the total population, and they become the investors in the capital market, compared to the country that has reached 25%, or even in the US, it has reached nearly 40%, we can tell that the economic growth is widely distributed and enjoyed by people in general. So ESG in this case is part of the greater agenda for us and also players in the financial industry. And I think for another aspect of SDGs is about reduce inequalities. Again, start with the vision of our company that everyone deserves a better and secure financial future. We make it easy, we make it inclusive, we make it very comfortable and also fun to invest in the capital market, so that the inequalities amongst people and population in Indonesia, because there is I think it's an agreed statement by economists and also people in general that sometimes Indonesia economic growth is too Java-centric. So the Java Island is a most dense and populated island in Indonesia, and most of the economic growth, economic epicentrum is centralized in Java Island. So our job here, through our service and our presence in the market, is that we want to reduce the inequality. We want to give the same service and also access to people, not only in Java Island, but also in other islands and cities in Indonesia, even in the most remote area. As long as they have the internet access, they can have the same treatment, the same service from our company. So this three SDGs aspect is something that is really closely related to our internal activities, to our internal stakeholders, but it's also tied to the greater agenda in the society. But when we look at the external stakeholders issues, the statistic, the official one issued by the Financial Services Authority, you can read on my screen that the number of investors capital market is just 10.48 million. And also in terms of the financial inclusion, I think the number is quite good. It's now 85.1%. in 2022 compared to around 76% in 2019. So that means 85% of population in Indonesia, at least now they have been touched by financial services from the simplest one, bank, they have the bank account, they have access to fintech companies, fintech services. Whereas the financial literacy of the country is only 49.7%. So I can say easily that 1 out of 2 investors in Indonesia who have been exposed to financial services, whether it's to the product issued by banks or capital market, 1 out of 2 investors, they experience the illegal investment. They have been lured by illegal investment. And it's a very sad fact that this thing can happen to anyone. And communicating sustainability, at least for my department, PR department in the financial services, I think it's not only exclusive to how we build a good business practice and how we communicate the ethical kind of business and also the way we operate our activities and also the way we sell our services to the public. But the most or the more fundamental issue is on how Bibit as a company working together with other players in the financial industry, including with the regulators and policymakers, we have a very huge homework to increase financial literacy. Because by increasing financial literacy rate, let's say to 70 or 80%, it will be easier and more productive for the players in the industry, including to our company, to communicate the ethical way of doing business and how we could tie the SDGs, the ESG principles to the way our customers think about ourselves. But now I don't have the exact survey result, but casually when we have conversation with people in the society, with the average Joe of the country, actually they don't care about how business is operated. They don't really care about how our company implement SDGs principles and also ESG in our business operation. What they care about is whether or not the company gives them vouchers or a special discount, or whether or not it's interesting enough for them to develop and grow their wealth. Well, so many people, they want an instant way of getting rich. I think it's not only Indonesian problem, but maybe the problem everywhere. It's just maybe the proportion is quite different one to another. But that's the fact that people or industry players in financial industry face. And this is my last slide. And in order to implement the SDGs and also ESG principles, we realized that these are 3 key stakeholders that we manage and interact with on a daily basis. And the first one, for our internal stakeholders, we have the challenge on how to tie sustainability principles and agenda of the company with the personal aspiration of the people. Because when people work at our company, we want them to have awareness and also aspiration that we are doing something important to the public, that we are, as a brand and as a company, we are ethical enough and we are helping the internal stakeholders to grow their economic, to grow their wealth, while at the same time we help our users and people in general. So as a matter of fact, from around 10.48 million investors in the capital market, around 5 million of them, they have open account through our platform. So the service that we provide to the society is widely used, it's around 50%. And we realize as well that we play a very important part in communicating sustainability to our publics and also stakeholders. And the recent trend, at least from 2021, 2022, we look at the way investors and venture capitals work and put things or aspects into the consideration when they are about to invest in company or startups. So they take a serious note on how the potential invested company prioritize sustainability, ESG, SDGs in their agenda. So this is a part of the process that we should include and also communicate to potential investors and venture capitals that we closely tie our business with the global sustainability agenda. And also, last but not least, with the fellow journalists and mass media, because I work in the agriculture sector prior to in financial sector, so I can tell the difference that, at least from my experience, national media agenda doesn't revolve around sustainability unless the company is related to transportation, something to do with carbon emission, and also manufacturing, the factory and number of pollution, and how they can work around the emission. But for a digital business like ourselves, we don't have special scrutinize from the media as a watchdog in the democratic country like Indonesia on how we should communicate sustainability. So the conclusion of my presentation today, at least from the study case that I bring up to all of you, is that sustainability agenda is not something compulsory. It's something that we do because we realize that it's something nice to do. That's the right thing to do. But there's no strong pressure, at least in our financial sector, from the stakeholders, from the interest group, from the environmentalists of the country to prioritize, to communicate, and to put environment, ESG or SDGs first in our business operation. It's a long way to go, but we know that it's imminent because we talk to the investors and also venture capitals that we know for sure that it's something very important, and we don't close our eyes on issues like this. That's why we have done many initiatives. We work together with non-government organization on how to measure the carbon emission. We implement the flexible work arrangement. We reduce the business trip. We don't really have like obligation to go to the office, and the know your customer process of our company, when we are able to serve 5 million users throughout the archipelago, it's all done digitally, and people are not required at all to go to office, to go to brick and mortar office, because in fact, we don't have one. We only have our headquarters, and we operate unlike the big brothers, like the big banks who still have the branches and representative office throughout Indonesia. But we are not like that. At least that's something that by definition and also in a sense is something that we have done to support sustainability agenda of the country. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. William. That is a really insightful look into Indonesia. Okay. All right, so our final speaker is Associate Professor Dr. Zulhamri. Dr. Zulhamri is a resident academic of corporate communication at University Putra, Malaysia. He obtained his PhD in corporate communication from Cardiff University and his postgraduate diploma in entrepreneurship from Cambridge University. As a project leader, he has secured around 1.2 million ringgit worth of over 20 research grants and projects with a highly talented team behind him. Presently, he has a 9H index with 187 citations in Scopus and a 15H index with 138 citations in Google Scholar. So he has published more than 150 articles and over 60 articles as a senior author. So his presentation title today is Transforming the Future of Public Relations Towards Global Capability Framework from the Asian Perspective. So I'd like to invite Dr. Zulhamri for his presentation.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Edmonds. Okay, for the introductions. I'm so excited that been with TAR. I've been there a couple of times for the MQA accreditations. I hope that it can be, I think that this seminar should be physical, so okay, that I can see everyone, but it's okay. Okay, let's start it because I think that I don't have much time on the.
Hang on, Dr. Zulhamri. I think you need to put presentation mode on the slide. Yeah, because we can. Okay, that's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, before we started, a part of the academics, I'm also the visibility advisor to the Center of Corporate Strategy and Relation. It is at like a corporate communication division in UPM. I'm also the national coordinator for the Green Metric for the Green Metric Universitas Indonesia. That may be a thing that, thanks to the Universitas Indonesia, because I think that they create the green metric, yeah. So that I think that there is a 1,000 participation from all over the world, and proudly to say that UPM is number one now. Hopefully, I think that we are helping more. I think that university to have a more green campus. All right, just I think that's maybe a started about, I think this is a title about the breaking down borders and Asian perspective on transforming the future of public relation to the global capability framework. I think that I'm very, very excited to do this study. This study, I think that I did during the COVID actually, just as I started the COVID at that time, and then end by last year. And we launched, I think that with IPRM, Institute of Public Relations Malaysia. So there's a 3 questions that I asked here. One about do the shared set of the PR capability represented the global capability framework define the profession in Malaysia. This I think that through the survey. Research question 2, what are the variation of the global capability framework that are applicable within the Malaysian context? And number 3, how can the global capability framework can be used in the Malaysia at the individuals, organizationals, and for the industries as well. So this I think that thanks to the Professor Emeritus and Gregory from the Huddersfield University UK developed this framework, and at that time I agreed to adopt this in Malaysia. And I can share that we have the infographic reports that just produced, I think that last year. Okay. The world in which we live. So this, I think that relate to the sustainability PR that we are talking about. So all over the world, we're talking about the SDG, Sustainable Development Goal, and many organizations doing this. Whether they are doing it right or not, maybe I think that unconsciously, maybe they are also a thing that, do the greenwashing. That could be a thing that, something that we should aware of. I think that, so now we're talking about the global village. I think that is very, very important. But I think that let's, I think that view the VUCA challenges after the COVID-19 hit, I think that the volatiles, I think the challenge is unexpected. So we don't know what happened, I think, in the future. They said that we're going to have maybe the second COVID. Uncertainty change is a possible. We are changing our environment now. Everything is a change now. The AI, I think that's become, I think that more connected to us. Complex, many interconnected parts. So we're not, I think that living in Malaysia only, but we are, I think that, doing business in all over the world. So Asians, part of this, and then the worldwide, I think they become connected as well. Ambiguous, the causal relationship also is very unclear. I think that there's a lot, I think that in terms of the terminology that we use, the industry that we are living now. So everyone, I think that going to be very, very scared nowadays, I think what's going to happen in the future. So that's why we are trying to offer the capability framework. This, I think there's a very practical value to the global alliance, affiliate professional bodies and their members worldwide. And the beauty of this framework, it is not Western standard, but it is more the country-specific, country-specific observations, that will reflect the cultural and regional variation in the public relation as a global profession. That's why it's something that I very, very like about this framework. Be forward-looking in its approach, and amid, of course, is a rigorous academic standards as well, right? This, I think that when the Prof and Gregory introduced this framework, it start with, I think that in UK, and then I think that with other, I think that 9 countries, and also that she expand this to the other countries in Asian countries like Indonesia, Colombia, Ecuador, UAE, and we have, I think, also in Malaysia, right? Okay, so what is the beauty of this, the framework? It has, I think, the 11 capabilities group under the 3 headings, because I think that, when we're talking about the PR, there's a lot of things. So this is a framework going to make it more comprehensive what we are dealing with, I think that's, every day. So 3 important pillars here, which is one, I think, the communication capabilities, which is very, very important. This is our core. I think that's, the capabilities. For those, I think that students, the PR students need to be alert that communication capabilities, that is our hardcore capabilities. The second is organizational capabilities, because unlike the journalisms, the PR practitioner, we work with the industries. We have, I think, that the public relation departments work with the division. We have, I think, that the entity, our special entity that support the organization. So that is quite special for the PR profession. Professional capabilities, this I think that for us, I think that for the professional individuals, you need to be able to improve on it. Okay. And I think then the population sampling is a mixed method from the Delphi study, online survey, and in-depth interviews. I don't want to explain more about that, but I think that straight to the findings, the 3 important findings that I'm going to highlight here. One is about the communication capabilities. We see that the planning communication in alignment with the strategic purpose. This is very, very important. You want to do the campaign. What is the campaign purpose campaign? So it's not just event management, but with a strategic purpose. Okay. And then the second part, communicating effectively across traditional and digital channel. This is a very, very important part. Also, how we, I think, that use, the channel, the platform, and technologies. On the part of the organizational capabilities here, we need to understand that when we work in the organizations, we are supposed to support the organization. So the 3 important part I highlighted here. One is the maximizing use of the resources. Normally, I think that, as one entity, you need to compete with other entity also, with the marketing, sales, the human resource, logistics. So those, I think that's, very, very important. Working collaborative with the internal and external stakeholders. I think that the William already, I think, explained this, also, which is that aligned with my study. Gathering a relevant intelligence. So this is also very, very important. Intelligence, including the environmental scanning. So these also are part of the sustainability communication that we're talking about. Yeah. And then in terms of the professional capabilities, this I think that, how to improve the professionalism of the PR practitioners. Providing and promoting responsible leadership and governance. We are the one, I think, that, supposed to be the frontliners for organization. The guard, I think that, you are the organizational guard for the organizations. You are supposed, I think, that improve their reputation. Developing self and others, including the CPD, continuous professional development. Keep, I think, the improving yourself, upskilling, for example, the skillings. So this, I think, is quite important because, for the PR practitioners. And then I think that for the interview part, the qualitative parts, you can see that when this, I think, they're using the NVivo, you will see that the patterns of the key teams here, we see that the larger one, that is a very, very important, like communication, clients, important business, industries. So this, I think that, are quite interesting. And I think that, with, I think that the software, I think that, will generate this diagram, which is that, covering the 3 important pillars here. Communication capabilities, organizational capabilities, and professionals. Okay. And then I would like to do the comparison between the global and the Malaysia here. We see that there's a lot of similarities. And I think that it's good, quite, I think that understand that the Malaysia, I think that we all practice open policies. Also, I think that Indonesia do the same thing. That's why we don't have much, I think that's, different here. All the top brand, global brand, I think they're operating in Malaysia. So we don't have, I think that's not much different here. But we want to see that I highlighted the 2 important part, which is that make it, I think that ours differs than the global. The first part is the platform and technologies. That is the most significant PR capability. This I think we need to explain about later. The second part, which is the intelligent part, which is that we're talking about the context is king. In Malaysia, I think that, no matter how good your strategy is, if you don't, I think that put this in the context, so it's going to be, I think that it's not going to be work. Yeah, the best, I think that in terms of the leadership, in terms of who you know, how you behave, how I think that, you I think that, connect with the culture, with the social, political, even I think that, even at the tiny things, what happened, I think that in the country is very, very important. So that part of the intelligence I want to highlight here. Okay, I want to touch a bit about the digital platform technologies, because that in the data, I show that the platform and technologies are more significant stability. So the AI things are coming to us. And because I think that in the AI, I think that highlighted the three important part here. There's more actually. One is a tastification. This I think that is coming to Malaysia. They start, I think, they're practicing for the PR. Yeah, how we slice, I think that I think that slicing work so that we can crowdsourcing to the others. I think that. So this I think that make it our work is easier. Agility, being agile also very, very important, because I think that the world is changing. So the PR, practice also need to be changed. And I think the sustainability also very, very important. Is that SDG is a big word now. So then I think that being agile, how you protect the trust and reputation of your clients, these are quite important. The speed, I would like to talk about the speed now. Maybe I think that remember that in the 1990s, if you remember that in 1990s, we still use the press clipping, press clipping, we flip, I think that every page. And then I think that in 2000s, there's going to have, I think that people develop the software to do the press clipping. Nowadays, we don't need this anymore. Yeah, the chat GDP, the Canva, we have, I think that more AI, I think that, you can just, I think that write your press release, I think that in 5 minutes only. You can develop your, I think that maybe your PowerPoint, I think that, to impress your client using the Canva. Yeah. So this, I think that the speed, I think that's a very, very important, so that you can get a work done. And I think that instead of maybe in 1 year, you just do like a 2 or 3 campaign. So maybe I think that with the AI that we have, we can make it is a triple. We can make it, I think that, more, I think that the campaign that we can do. Yeah. And the last part about the algorithmic governance, this is also very, very important. How we regulate the content. Can we regulate this content? Because I think that everyone, I think that we must understand that artificial intelligence about the human-like behavior. Yeah. The mimic human behavior. How you do this. Yeah. So I think that you just like an assistant. Yeah. Assistant. You can do whatever you want. You can, I think that. So this, I think that, wow. It's a very, very interesting how to do the press release, how to do a press conference, or maybe imagine that how to make it a clone yourself, then I think that maybe I can do the seminars like this in 3 different locations. But the important part also need to be highlighted here in terms of the contents. Can we regulate the content? How we behave that? So this, I think that. So to relate back, I think that to the sustainability communication, I like to, I think that bring the idea of the sustainability tourism, I think in Malaysia, especially in Malaysia, in Indonesia. I'm working out this project now on the certain, and because I think that I see that it's a huge potential, especially the heritage, Asian heritage that we have in Malaysia, Sabah, Sarawak. I think in Indonesia also, we have the Medan, we have the Bali. I think that sustainability tourism, I think that's coming. The word, I think that more words like the green tourism, the wellness, I think that tourism, I think that coming, I think that. So instead of, I think that we are, I think that try to combat any, I think that the greenwashing, but at the same time, I think that we need to provide this through, I think that, improving the sustainability tourism through the culture, economy, society, and environments. Yeah. And one of the beauty of this software also, it comes with also the measurement, how to analyze. So I think that if you click, I think that there's a link here. It goes to the link that you can, I think that sign up. Then we can do, I think that the software, and I'm going to measure the organizational corporate communication department, and also for your team also, personal and also for the team as well. So these are things that review the team strength, draft the job ads, prepare the appraisal promotion, argue for more responsibility, and set a long-term career goals, right? For the recommendation and way forward, I would say that the PR is a very, very challenging words. Yeah. So how we track the global capability to deal with the world economic crisis to 2020, or maybe unexpected, we don't know what happened in the 2024. We have to be ready for that, for the changing. Yeah? Empowers the practitioners, professional bodies, and employers, yeah, especially the consultants, yeah, to decide for themselves and they contact what is appropriate. So in Asian, I think that we have to focus on the context rather than other things. Yeah. And it's helpful for the articulating your own role to meet the KPI and desired result. Everything that we, in order to manage our thing that the campaign, our thing the project, we need to measure it, yeah, and we want to get the results, right? I think with that, I think I will conclude that with the track. How I think that are we ready for the AI, for the more challenges in the futures, yeah. So with that, I think that I end my presentation. Thank you very much. Back to the admins.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Zulhamri. It's really interesting that you highlighted the huge potential, especially for Southeast Asian countries that we have in the area of sustainable tourism and green tourism as well. So once again, thank you, Dr. Zulhamri, for the presentation. It's really great to be able to hear all of these insights and all of this sharing from our three speakers. So for the audience and for everyone, we will now move on to our Q&A session. Before we take a look at the questions available in the chat box, so just quick reminder, for members of the audience who would like to ask any questions, please just write it into the chat box. It'd be good if you can write specifically, if you have, to whom the question is directed to, in order to make the webinar much more smoothly and it's easy for us to proceed. I will select and read out the questions and direct it to the panelists. Okay. So just to get the ball rolling, we have one question from Mr. Chuan. It says here, panelists, what's your advice to our youth and students? We have a number of them in our midst today. On a more truthful CSR practice in order to set a positive future for the industry. So maybe I could ask Dr. Craig to give his point of view, followed by Mr. William, and then Dr. Zulhamri. Yeah, Dr. Craig.
Thanks. So I'm just going to give three very simple sentences, not the most polite sentences on earth. So I pre-warn you, trigger warning. Three things that I think about. One, authenticity is everything in your connection between brands and audiences. The second one is ethics is essential. Don't look for shortcuts. And the third one, which is a slightly more controversial, stakeholders see through the bullshit and poor quality ideas. And whenever we try to do anything untruthful or misaligned with reality, and we're only convincing ourselves that we've got it right, everybody else sees through that. So that's my advice on that one. Thank you.
Great. Mr. William?
Yes, I think a very good emphasis on the content from Dr. Craig just now. So now I'm going to talk about the context. So if you want to practice truthful CSR practice and activities, whether you are the employers or employee, it's very important to understand the context. So treat the CSR department and also the personnel as your business partner, as a part of your organization. So they're not working for you, but they're working with you. So I think it's almost similar to what happened to HR long time ago. Up until today, we find and coin the term HR business partner. So the HR is the part of growing the organization. You are not only being assigned by the company to do ABC, but also for the CSR department, it's important to understand the strategic goals of the company and not only seeing things from the narrow perspective. So what you do should be tied to the larger agenda, should be closely related to your business operation. So you find the relevance, and people can see that you are not overdoing it, but still doing it within the context. Thank you.
Okay, great, Mr. William. Dr. Zulhamri?
All right. I'm totally agree with Craig and also the Williams, talking about the ethicals, CSR, and also the context actually. But what I want to add here a bit about for the youth and the students. I think that you need to start now doing the truth CSR practice, perhaps through your social media. Start, I think that creating your LinkedIn, for example. So that is a very, very powerful. I think that if you want to focus on the CSR practice, I think that what you're doing with this, with I think that the school papers, with I think that so start now, so that people are going to judge you. People are not going to, I think that just buy the idea from your interviews anymore. Now with the interviews is just I think that just like the cinemas tickets. What I think that the people want to see when the employer want to hire you, because I think that they want to see the reputation. Your personal reputation is very, very important. So make it, I think that your LinkedIn beautiful with, I think that activities, so that people can see that how sincere you. I think that you're not doing this. So that is quite my advice to the youth and the students today. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Zulhamri. It's true, when we have a bit more positive social media presence, our future employers would definitely be much more interested. Okay, if you, again, a reminder to the audience, so you can post up your questions in the chat box. You can keep it coming. I have noticed some questions earlier on, so I'll just direct it to some of your speakers. This is for Dr. Craig. So this particular person was asking maybe what are some advantages of implementing ESG, particularly for small companies?
I think the advantages for small companies is you're actually seen as being part of a community, being part of the broader society. How we promote that, how we put that out there is always going to be a bigger challenge for an SME than it is for a larger known brand. But being able to be seen as making or contributing to society, even one little step at a time, is actually a huge advantage. And if we go back to one of the old internet memes that's been going around for way longer than I care to remember, what is it? Supporting a small local business is helping put kids in tuition and having weekend, not buying a CEO a second holiday house or a helicopter. So I think, it comes back to supporting our own community and those around us first.
All right, thanks. It is true. It is true. I would like to direct this question to Mr. William, okay, as we wait for more questions in the chat box. Someone is asking, do you feel that corporate organizations only focus on sustainability when they see that it brings them better profits?
I think, thank you for the question. The ultimate goal of every business entity is getting the profit. We cannot deny that fact, and we shouldn't live in a world that's not created by that notion. But in order to make profit, I think there are many ways that we can do. I find it's very important that the big words now are SDGs, ESG, and also ethics on how to do business. So I'll just give you a very quick example on how our service take things into consideration. And I also noticed there's a question on how Bibit is different to digital bank and other type of services, and how we put this kind of thinking into practice. So the main reason when people interact with banks, digital banks, and other financial institutions is that when they want to get advice and they want to know themselves better, so that they can decide on which investment instruments to invest on, right? And Bibit is the first in the market, is the first digital investment app that provide robo-advisor in a way that with all digital process, people can simply answer 6 type of question, and the robo-advisor is can be used for free, and you might know your risk profile, your financial goals and how to reach that. And it's only a recommendation. It's only the things that we do and we provide as an extra service for our users. And as a users, as a human, as an investor, you are the one who is 100% in charge of your decision. So we are not making any decision to our users. So we give the service, we do it ethically, we want to get the profit, we want you to become our users. But before that, we give you any things necessary that you can get by interacting with banks and other financial institutions. We do it digitally, and now the choice and the decision is on you. So we know that by doing things right, by doing things ethically, we should still draw a very clear line on what are the things that we can do and we cannot do. And in this case, it works to our business.
All right, great. Okay, so now for Dr. Zulhamri, all right, it is really great that you mentioned this huge potential of sustainable tourism. So if I could just ask, how can organizations or governments or even any stakeholders actually take advantage, of the huge potential that you can foresee coming in terms of sustainable tourism? Maybe you could elaborate or share some on that.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, talking about the tourisms, start I think that picking up after the COVID. I think that's not last June, if I'm not mistaken, because our MCO I think that's still in the quarter 2022, and I think that we still remember that how bad I think that the tourism industry during the COVID-19, especially I think that those I think that the tourism cities like Penang's, Langkawi, they've been hit a lot. I think that's during that times, and I think that coming back, I think that we have to be, I think that more energetic to focus on. That's why I think that the sustainable green, the tourism, the heritage that we have, huge potentials. For example, that there's Sarawak. We have, I think that the Sarawak. I think that is a big potential, but I don't know why they did not really, I think that promote much. What we can see that maybe in the Sabah, for example, that we have the Kudasang. In Malaysia, I think that some other place, we have, I think that the tourisms, but then not really focus on the sustainable. The meaning of the sustainable tourism is totally different than just, I think that visit to the place and for the hospitality only. It is not just about that. It's everything about you. Yeah. So when you, I think that I think that I'm trying to develop the sustainable tourism, meaning that every, I think that single thing that the tourists do there is going to be, I think, the green. Yeah. For example, that anything that they maybe have the green cafe, they don't use, I think that the recycling, they're going to have not using any straw when they have, I think that dine in, I think that in the cafe. So that the whole concept of the sustainable tourism must be there. The heritage, because I think that when we're talking about the tourisms, we're talking also about, I think the trees. I think that this, we have to exploit this. Our beach, for example, beautiful beach. I think that in the Sarawak, in I think that some other place, and I think that working collaborative with Indonesia also very, very good. I'm also, I think that working with Medan now. Medan, I think that have a big potential there, because I think that there's some similarity in terms that I call is the heritage tourism. This is a green heritage tourism, because this, I think that we're supposed to be preserved. I think that the heritage, make it this more green, and I think that that's going to be, I think that for our economies, for the culture, for I think the society, we don't really stress on that. Oh, we need to, I think that being sustainable practice. But we not stress on it, but we look at in terms of the golden opportunity that we have, I think that promoting the tourism. And I think that start with the Penang. I think that's why in Penang we have the only Penang. They have the only the green city, council there. That's why they have a green city council to protect the Penang. Is I think that the huge potential for the tourism, and that we should start. I think that I got one project there. With the Penang, you go to anything that the hypermarket, they don't use a straw, no paper, no plastic anymore. the attitude, changing the attitude also very, very important. We're talking about not in terms of the technology, but the attitude and behavior change. This, I think, that the big challenge in the green tourism, actually. How we, I think, that behave, I think that, when we visit some other places. So this, I think, the potential that we are going to see. And hopefully the government really, I think that, can help us to improve, I think that, to rebrand our tourism, Asian tourism, to become the sustainable tourism rather than, I think that, the place I think that we visit. That's my view on this. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks so much, Dr. Zulhamri. We have quite last minute question from Kira. I think I'll just take the first one and then we go a quick run through by Dr. Greg, Mr. William, and Dr. Zulhamri, and then we will conclude the Q&A session. So Kira's question is, how can PR practitioners ensure that their digital crisis management strategies are effective and sustainable over the long term? We'll begin with Dr. Greg.
Thanks. Since we only have a couple of minutes and not a few hours, let me give you 3 thoughts. I seem to like my 3 thoughts. The first one is planning. Everything for crisis response is about planning in advance and preparing for what we think might happen and then trying to prepare for what we don't think will happen but will probably happen anyway. The second one is consistency of approach. Again, that comes back down to planning because planning does build consistency, but execution of any crisis response does require consistency. And the third one that I feel is most important is ensuring the buy-in of leadership. So a lot of brands have mid-level teams developing a crisis plan, but they fail to send that up to the C-suite where the real buy-in has to be.
All right, thanks. Mr. William?
Yeah, I think the advantage of answering after Dr. Craig is he has been telling a lot and all the relevant things. So it's very easy for me to just add up some points. So thanks to you, Dr. Craig. And for me, I think we need to realize that PR practitioners, we are not spin doctors at all. The era of spin doctors has long gone, like 50 years ago. And for now, to anticipate and to mitigate, as well as dealing with the crisis, we need to implement the good corporate governance principles. We need to be transparent. We need to be professional. We need to be accountable of things that might happen because of our business operation. So we cannot play victim. We cannot in the blaming game. So be accountable, take responsibility. But the more important one is, what are you willing to do to compensate for the mistake that you made? And what is the promise? And how public or your users, your customers can measure your initiative and show result and show your commitment to them. Because making mistakes, I think, it's okay as long as you know how to deal with it and still be transparent, be honest, and focus on the things and steps that you're gonna take to repay or to actually ask for forgiveness from the public.
True. Thanks, Mr. William. Quick thoughts, Dr. Zulhamri?
Right. Talking about the crisis management strategies, I'm very excited to talk about that. Because nowadays, it happened, I think that's, in the seconds only.
Yeah.
Not like I think that, 10 years ago, it happens one as well. When I think the media publish it, it will happen. But today, to be that in Asian context, we have to look in terms of the context. You can't, I think, that hide anything, the evils, activities, the things that you do. Definitely the media, I think that's so. There's also another. We see that the influencer, that is a new media now. They are the one, I think, that's going to, I think, the price you down. So those, I think, that the bloggers and influencer in Malaysia have been recognized as a new media. They are the one, I think, that can bring you down. So be careful with them. So those, I think, you have to be friend with the bloggers, with the influencers, because these are the true celebrities in Malaysia.
Sorry.
I think that when they give one contents only. So careful with that. To me, that I think that I like, what the William say. if you do the mistake, please apologize. It is okay
Sure.
to apologize to the public and do the right contents and tell the truth to the publics. You can't hide anything. I believe that the netizen will forgive you, and keep doing it. I think that something that good for the society. If you done that greenwashing and try to quick fit, I think that try to fix it and do that the right thing. Get that there's someone expert to improve. I think that. Otherwise, I think that you are keep doing it. Sometimes people, I think they unconsciously doing a greenwashing. I see that.
Sure.
They are not really want to do that, but it is happen because they don't get any advice, any expert. I think that's so it happened. I think the greenwashing. So I think that to me, the new world now is to become. I think that's a very very challenging. It happened. I think that in 1 second. You don't wait for the digital news anymore. Because I think that the bloggers, the influencer, they are the one thing that will get it first. This, I think, that's something that the crisis now.
True.
So be careful with that. Yeah.
True. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Zulhamri. So with that, we will end the Q&A session. Please do stay on. I just want to check. We also have Dr. Alexander with us. Dr. Alexander is the director of Southeast Asian Media Studies Association, SEAMSA. So I was wondering whether Dr. Alexander would like to just say a few words.
Yes, hello everyone, and I'm sorry I could not attend the lesson. Actually, I'm teaching an online class right now, and we are just in a 10-minute break, and I decided to pop in. But I'm astonished. There are like 140 people here, and it seems like you've been having a great discussion. So thank you to everyone who organized this event. That's really wonderful. To have so many participants. Thank you to everyone who attended and to our speakers. Thank you for your time and sharing your expertise. And yeah, let's hope we can have more webinars very soon this year. Yeah. I wish you all have a great day.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, Dr. Alexander.
Bye-bye.
So thank you so much once again. I will now hand the time over to the MC for some final remarks, and we will be having a group photo session as well. So back to the MC.
Thank you to all the honorable speakers and Mr. Edmund. On behalf of the organizing team, once again, I want to extend our sincere thanks to our 3 guest speakers, Dr. Craig, Mr. William, and Professor Dr. Zulhamri Abdullah for their knowledge and sharings. Now, we would like to invite everyone to turn on your cameras for the group photo session.
Oh, as a reminder as well, our Mr. Samuel has also shared an evaluation form in the chat box. So we hope that after the group photo for all audience, please remember to just click on the link and give us some feedback, how we can improve our webinar, or if there's anything that you'd like to let us know as well. Thank you. Back to the MC.
Okay, be ready everyone. In the count of 3, 2, 1, say cheese. Okay, one more time. 3, 2, 1. All right, thank you all for your cooperation. I think that should be a nice group photo. Once again, we hope you found this webinar informative and engaging. We thank each and everyone for joining us. Please fill in the evaluation form through the link posted in the chat box. This is to ensure you have fully participated in the event and for us to issue all participants with a well-deserved certificate. Your feedback is important for us to do better in the future. That brings us to the end of our event. Hope you all have a great day ahead. Thank you and goodbye, everyone.
All right. Thank you, everyone, once again. Some of the speakers are sharing their LinkedIn profiles, so you can connect with them as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Craig, Mr. William, and Dr. Zulhamri as well. Yes. Thank you.
All the best. See you next time. Bye-bye.
See you. Thank
Thank you. Bye.
Take care.